Hello everyone, welcome to Rex Reviews. I'm Rex, and I like to review stuff like books, TV shows, and movies. I have a degree in English literature, so this is just something I'm generally passionate about, and I just also like to yap. Also, happy Halloween, my friends. Today, we are going to talk about a trend that I absolutely hate. I despise in media. The dark and gritty reboot. Now, I want to say, if you like these, that's cool. I just despise them on a deep, personal level. And this is my sleepover. I get to talk about what I want to talk about. So, the dark and gritty reboot. What comes to mind? Riverdale, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Winx Saga, Wednesday. I want to mention Velma, but I'm just going to talk about the live action ones. Velma was awful. I can get into that later. In general, I'm not a huge fan of live action reboots, but that's also another video for another time. Anyways, each of these starts with a fairly interesting premise or concept, a darker spin on childhood nostalgia, but they always just end up garbage. They all just kind of flop. And I think part of that is that people try to make it too edgy, which then just makes it end up sort of cringy. Along with that, they forget the core of these characters and turn them into completely different characters who do not match up with the characters that they are based on or who we grew up. I will be going through each of these shows, talking about what I think their shortcomings are and analyzing what went wrong with them. I'm gonna try not to trash them too much, but no promises. But I also want to try to give ideas on how they could be improved. As usual, I will not be using clips or audio, not because I don't know how to, but because of copyright reasons. I will be trying to include screenshots if I can. Alright, so I didn't really feel like being on camera anymore, so you're just gonna look at my pony Sona while I talk. I hope you enjoy. Well, let's continue. Alright, let's start off with Riverdale. It needs no introduction. If you're on my side of the internet, you are probably well aware of Riverdale. I'm not going to say it's the first ever dark and gritty reboot. I could totally be wrong by saying that it's the first ever, but it's the first ever one that I was introduced to. This was what started, at least for me, this is where I noticed the trope and the trend of the dark and gritty reboot. Alright, so like I said, if you're on my side of the internet, you are probably well aware of Riverdale and the mess that it is. As a brief explanation, if you're not aware or just like to get it out, let's talk about it. This is a reboot of the Archie comics, which was originally about a group of teenagers just kind of being goofy teenagers. It was bright, it was funny, and it was originally published in the 1940s and went on until, I believe, 2020. I could be wrong. Fact check me on that. It's just a fun, lighthearted comic series. Riverdale is very different. It's dark, it's gritty, there's a bunch of weird shipping stuff. I remember when I was telling my dad about Riverdale, my dad got really upset about Jughead and Betty dating. He said along the lines of, Jughead's only girlfriend is cheeseburgers. He should only like cheeseburgers. And honestly, yeah, that's a base take. Overall, Riverdale just gets really weird. Oh, and it has a lot of cringy dialogue and actions. It is so known for its cringy dialogue. I stopped watching around season 3 because I couldn't take it anymore. I do think it had an interesting start. A murder in a small town where nothing really happens, especially because the victim of this murder was the twin brother of one of the main characters, Cheryl Blossom. It really twisted the original positive environment of the Archie comics. And I have to say, the first thing that kind of ruined this show for me was the stuff between Archie and Grundy. Grundy was in her 30s while Archie was supposed to be 15. And they didn't really treat it like it was a big deal. They were all just kind of cool with it, from what I remember. Instead of the fact that, you know, Archie is a victim here, they didn't seem to care all that much. And it just gets progressively weirder and weirder. There's cults, magic, drugs, musical episodes, more weird relationship stuff, cringe dialogue, and it continues into the last season with like superpowers, and then they end up going back time. They as in Archie, Veronica, Betty, and Jughead, and they end up having a poly relationship. Okay, so I have to say, I never finished the show. I didn't get past season 3 because I respected myself too much to watch it, and that's saying a lot. This is just stuff I know via Tumblr osmosis. Now, I know this show was really popular with a lot of teenagers, and a lot of teenagers liked it. And I also know a lot of people hated it. I was a teenager when it was coming out, and I despised it. I would hate watch it with my friends. But then, like I said, I stopped around season 3 because I just couldn't stand it anymore. I think what went wrong with the show is that it tried too hard to be dark and edgy to the point it was just ridiculous. Like, the plots made no sense. Along with this, the characters got deeply changed from their original selves, and they weren't really the characters. They were these completely original characters with the names of the old characters slapped onto them with some similar designs and looks to them. Again, just the cringy dialogue. Like, the cringy dialogue is really what got a lot of people. And overall, I think the writers tried too hard to make the show dark and gritty to the point it was just ridiculous and unwatchable. Alright, moving on to the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is based off of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and now, we have to clarify, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina takes place within the same universe as Riverdale, and the same goes for the comics. The Archie comics and Sabrina the Teenage Witch take place within the same universe. So, they kept that in there. Sabrina the Teenage Witch was also a bright comic series following Sabrina, her friends, and family and their wacky adventures. Sabrina the Teenage Witch also had a previous live-action series of the same name running in the 90s. But Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is darker than Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I was also a teenager when this was coming out, and again, I really liked season 1. But it lost me around season 3. I remember the exact scene that lost me when Nicholas wanted Sabrina to call him daddy, and I just clicked off and never watched it again. So, Sabrina is half witch, half mortal, and has to balance both worlds, and this is the same for both, like, the comics and the 90s show. This version is a lot darker than the originals. The originals had a lot more fun hijinks and was just like, I don't even know what to say. Like, it was just more fun, it was bright, it was colorful, it was more just like a teenage girl trying to be a teenage girl, but she was also a witch. This one just has, like, a lot darker stuff in it. Like, I don't know, it's, you guys, if you've seen these, you know what I'm talking about, okay? This isn't supposed to be an in-depth analysis, this is just my opinions. Oh, also, the cat doesn't talk in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is a huge bummer because Salem was such a funny character. Anyways, in this, Sabrina goes both to mortal and witch school. Does she ever sleep? I don't think so. Sabrina's parents are dead, so she lives with her father's sisters, her aunts. I really probably should have rewatched these shows, huh? But I don't like them, so too bad. And I'm a grad student, so I don't have time for it. Alright, so where it lost me. Similar to Riverdale, they were just trying too hard to be, like, edgy and dark and gritty. The characters weren't like their original selves. Similar to Riverdale, it was just, like, these characters had the similar names, had the same names and similar designs, but completely different personalities slapped on top of them. And Satan is Sabrina's dad, like her actual biological father, and I didn't like that. Again, it just felt like the writers were trying too hard to be edgy and dark. The characters don't feel like the characters they were trying to emulate. I did like the soundtrack in this. The soundtrack in this was pretty good. So I don't actually have a lot to say about Fate the Winx Saga because I only watched, like, the first 2 episodes a while back. So I don't have a lot to say about this, but I still want to mention it. So I originally watched the, like, Winx Club cartoons when I was a little kid, and I was very attached to the Winx Club cartoons. I thought they were really fun, I liked the colors, I liked the costumes. I grew up with this, not that. So the main reason why I stopped liking this was that I just didn't like the way they made the characters look. I didn't like the designs. I couldn't stand the way this looked. And I think for me, I just couldn't stand it. Like, this was probably the worst one for me because I actually grew up attached to the Winx Club, and then I got this. I think that's the same criticism a lot of people have, but, like, God, those costumes, they're just so drab and boring and bland. What happened here? Okay, the last one I want to talk about is Wednesday. Originally, the last one I wanted to talk about was to be Velma, but I decided just to stick to the live-action reboot. So let's talk about Wednesday. I watched this first when it came out. I watched the entire season, and I didn't like it that much. I love the Addams Family. I love the movies from the 90s. I'm a huge fan of the sitcom from the 60s. Those are, like, the best Addams Family renditions, in my opinion. So, honestly, this is probably the one I like the least out of all of them. just because I had such a huge pre-existing love for the Addams Family, I would also say that, like, Winx Saga and Velma are also some of my least favorites, again, because of my pre-existing love for, like, Scooby-Doo and Winx Club. But I'm not going to talk about Velma in this episode. Okay, sorry. Moving on. So in this show, Wednesday is a teenager, and she's been sent to a supernatural boarding school because she can't make it, like, well in a normie school. First of all, I hate the use of the term normie in this series. It makes me cringe. And then, you know, like all dark and gritty reboots, there are murders, there's some sort of love triangle thing, heavily focuses on the supernatural and the monsters and stuff, which, I mean, was kind of cool, but not really what was, I don't know, it just, God. See, I have a script written, and even then I can't fully emulate what I'm trying to say and my distaste for these shows. Where was I? And then, like, there are a lot of rifts within the Addams, like, family. Like, within the family of the Addams, there are a lot of rifts. And so here's where it lost me. Again, for one, it's just trying too hard to be edgy. And, like, yeah, the Addams Family is weird. And it was, like, transversive in the tropes that it used. But it wasn't exactly edgy. At least not like this. Along with this, I didn't like the way that they did the Addams. You see, the core of the Addams Family is love. They all love each other so much. They embrace their weirdness, they do weird things together and apart, but they love each other. Morticia and Gomez are incredibly supportive of their children and of each other. Wednesday and Pugsley are supportive of each other in their own weird ways. I also wanted to add that the Addams Family is supportive of other people who aren't like them. For example, in one of the episodes of the 1960s sitcom, Wednesday and Pugsley are going to a birthday party of a neighborhood child, and Morticia was like, now remember, children, not all children are as lucky to you to have, like, guillotines or something around the house, and you need to be respectful of that. This version, they all just felt so distant from each other. They didn't feel like the Addams Family. There wasn't that connection and that love that was there in the previous renditions. They didn't seem to share those same bonds like the previous iterations had so much emphasis on. They just felt so empty with each other, and like they didn't actually care about each other, which is like not the point of the Addams Family. They're supposed to care about each other and love each other. Anyways, before I get too worked up, moving along. Okay, so after doing this video, I realized that there are like two main reasons why I absolutely despise this like trend in reboot. Number one, they're trying way too hard to be edgy. As you've noticed, all of these end with me saying that they're trying too hard to be edgy. Like, they all just take the dark elements up to 100, and they really need to dial it back. Especially because they take such extremes. Riverdale seemed to have a new extreme every other episode, and it was just so much to process. Sabrina Adventure's whole Satan being Sabrina's dad thing, that was weird. I'm not sure what Winx did, but I'm sure they did something. And Wednesday with the Hyde murdering a bunch of people, it's just like all the edginess is taken too far. It's ridiculous. Like they're ridiculous. It's hard to take them seriously, and it's hard to watch them because the edginess has been taken too far. And then number two is the mischaracterization. The thing that really bugs me about these series, like these reboots, is mischaracterization. Now I know when it comes to reboots, things will be different, but these shows always take the mischaracterization too far. Again, I understand, reboots are different, they're gonna be different, they're gonna be different interpretations, but none of the characters in these shows feel like the characters they are meant to be representing. It feels like the writers just took completely different characters, slapped the old characters' names right on top of them, and then just did nothing. It's a super jarring experience. Like, these characters are not who you say they are, no matter what you tell me. And I think there is a way to do this well. I think these types of reboots can work. I think a darker twist can be put on like these nostalgic childhood shows and made into more modern TV shows. I just think the like darkness and the edginess and the grittiness needs to be dialed back, and the characters need to be more true to their original selves. Overall, this just comes down to personal preference. I don't like these kinds of shows, and I kinda hate them. I hate this trope with a burning passion. I don't know what else to say. I'm tired. Also, I want to say sorry if my voice sounds rough or if you can like hear me cough or clear my throat. I get really bad autumn allergies, like no matter where I am in the world. I'm gonna try to cut all of that out, but if you can still hear a little bit, I am so sorry. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video of me yapping about stuff that I hate. If you like this video, subscribe. If you don't like this video, don't. If you want me to do, I would like to do a more in-depth analysis of each of these shows and why I don't like them and why I don't like the trope. This is just like a basic overview. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, subscribe. If you want to watch more videos of mine, cool. If not, don't. I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you all have good days. Bye-bye.